what's going on? It's me, Kyle Lucas RC, YouTube, the whole good stuff. We're gonna do the four-wheel steer on Mad Torque, and I think I got this whole parts list figured out. So let's have a skim over all the parts, and we'll see what I'm gonna be using, and then we'll start installing it piece by piece. I'll do my best to explain what I'm doing, and hopefully at the end it all works out well, and I achieve the four-wheel steer that I'm looking for. Okay, so here's all the parts I'm going to be using. This is from MPI, and it's a digital servo reverser. You can see coin-wise, this cost me about 20 bucks. So it looks like there's some instructions there on how to use it. So if you need the same kit, you can read all the instructions and figure out how to use it. Second thing I'm probably going to be using here is going to be a servo. I'm going to go with the waterproof Traxxas 2075. Next is the just the linkage kit, I guess, for the rear steer in the back. The long one to link the hubs together, and the short one to hook the servo into the whole setup. And there's the 4 screws to hook the servo up. And we're going to be using a Y adapter here because I don't have enough channels on my receiver to run four-wheel steer, so that's why I'm going to be using the Y, and I'm going to be using the servo reverser so that I can reverse the servo that's going to be hooked into the steering, channel 1. Okay, this is my receiver. Now this is already installed in my truck, but this is what I'm going to be using. Let's see if we can get this to focus here. Anyway, it's a Fly Sky. So any of you that are using any of the Exceed stuff, you pretty much know this receiver. It's a Fly Sky receiver, and it's hooked to the FS3TGB. So that's what I picked up when I bought the Mad Torque, so hopefully this combination and that servo reverser combination is gonna work out for me, and I'll be able to achieve that four-wheel steer. So that's a look at the parts. The Mad Torque's over here. So essentially what I need to do here is make the back look like the front. So as you can see, they got like their bar set up, servo, and servo horn. I have to set it up exactly like that in the rear. So in the rear, at this point, you can see that basically how they have this set up in the rear is they just have like lockout bars, I guess you could say. So the first thing I'm going to do, I guess, is just take these off. Okay, so we've already taken the lockouts for the hubs off and wheels, like I stated earlier. Next thing we're gonna do is put the servo on the back plate there. It's pretty simple. It's just 4 screws that go into this holder, which is included in the four-wheel steer kit that you purchase from Exceed, and pretty simple. So here you go, servo on the rear, installed, 4 screws, installed on the plate, on the rear. Traxxas 2075, waterproof servo. So here's how the front is set up. there's your big link bar going across the bottom. That's this bad boy here. And then you have your small link right here on the top connecting. That's this bad boy right here. Then you have some spacers. You have a spacer right, then you have a spacer right here. See that little blue spacer? That's this guy right here. Now we're going to attach the long bar to the linkages on either side. It's pretty straightforward. Now these come with little nuts as well to screw on the bottom, so that even if they do push through the plastic, the nut will hold it there a little bit longer if it does happen to strip through the plastic on a knuckle. Just using a pair of vice grips on the bottom just to hold the nut so I can snug it up. Not too tight, don't strip it, just tight enough. Okay, so the next part that's going to happen is we've got to put the small, attach the small and the other side of the long on there, onto the other side here with, there's a longer screw that's provided in the kit. And so we'll go down through the top of this, like so. Then the spacer goes on. Then we go down through the long bar, and then finally we go into the hub on the other side. Which of course is a different size of Allen key, so we're gonna have to go over and get the other Allen key and to finish the install here on this side. So bear with me as I go do that. Trusty old Allen key set. A little bigger. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. What I've noticed is that the screw that comes with it is it's extra beefy and it's extra long, and they actually give you 2 spacers. So for the rear wheel steer, really, I could fit a second spacer and the nut on easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, but I'm going to put it up at the top so it doesn't affect my ground clearance. Spacer in the small one, spacer into the long one, finally into the hub. Okay, so check it out up close after the fact. So you see this is the long bar on the bottom here that's connected to the other hub on either side. Now we're connected in here. Then we have our screw going through with a nut on the bottom, spacer and a spacer here, and this portion here is going to hook to the horn on the servo. Okay, so now that the linkages are set up here and the servo set up here, now we need to put the servo horn on. And the servo horn is a 23 tooth servo horn. But don't sweat it, because when I bought the four-wheel conversion kit, it came with both servo horns. So you choose whichever one, whatever make and model you're working with. Screw in there. And we're good with that. Now, anytime you're hooking a horn onto a servo, you're going to want to power up that servo and also turn on your transmitter. And what that's going to do is zeroize your servo there, and that way when you install the horn, everything will be perfect, as opposed to bolting it all up and then powering it up later and finding out that your servo is on an angle. You know what I mean? Okay, so transmitter here, put that bad boy up, and then we're going to power up this in channel 1. Which is the steering channel. It's channel 1. Boom, she's on. You heard zip. She zeroed herself out there. Yep, equal. Okay, perfect. So we know that where that servo is right now is 0. So now we put our servo horn on. Hold on to the servo horn and the servo casing as you're doing this, so you don't put no extra stress on the gears inside the servo as you're tightening up the screw. Again, not too tight. So then the next thing to do is to attach the short arm to the servo arm, and what that will achieve is the steering should work then in the rear. Perfect. Oh, look at that. Bang, 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 bang. So it works perfectly. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the nut on the back of that. Okay, so now we are complete of the servo and linkage attachment on the rear of the Mad Torque. We got that all completed on the front, or on the rear. Long, short, servo horn, everything's mounted up nicely, and it looks pretty similar on the front hand side, except for there's a different servo, just a stock servo that came with the with Mad Torque. And the front has a bumper, but I also purchased another bumper for the rear, just so it would protect the linkages when I'm crawling in the rocks. So that concludes this portion of the video on hooking up the linkages and hooking up the servo and zeroizing it, putting the horn and all that on, and taking the lockouts off the rear. So stay tuned for the next video in which we do the electronics portion of it.